This right here is my Harvest Right freeze dryer, and when we started using it several years ago, I thought that maybe we would use it to make a couple of like camping meals, and it has become so much more than that to me now that I've used it over and over again for different purposes as different things have come up in our lives. So today I'd like to share with you 10 different ways that we use our Harvest Right freeze dryer to preserve food for our family of 7. Really, when we first got it, my kids just wanted to use it for candy. They thought that that was gonna be what the freeze dryer was for. And making candy is fun, and it's fun to give it as gifts and things, but really we don't do much candy in it. Mostly we preserve our food. So sometimes I include my freeze drying in our regular videos throughout the year, but I have been keeping a file on my computer of freeze drying projects over the last probably year that have not made it into any videos, but I just knew in the back of my mind I wanted to share some of these ideas that I think the freeze dryer is great for, because the freeze dryer really has been a good addition to our tools that we use to have food storage for our family. So that is reason number 1 that we have loved the freeze dryer, is that we can create long-term food storage for emergencies. So we live in Alaska. There are things that could happen really anywhere that you live, and it is nice to have some food stored up. We have freezers full of food, but if the electricity goes out, sometimes that can be a bit tricky. We do have backup generators, but there's a lot of things that could happen. It is nice to have some food that is just shelf stable and what we are used to. So we took a bunch of our moose meat and we freeze dried that so that we can pull that off the shelf, just add hot water and use it in a meal if we need to. So it is nice to be able to take some of our food and preserve it and use it for long-term food storage. Number 2 is that we can preserve things from the garden. So we have a garden during the summer. Those foods do not last. We can find ways to take those harvests and preserve them to stay on the shelves. We preserved celery, we preserved herbs that we had. Now they are in jars to be able to use, or they are in Mylar bags for long-term food storage. But I love that we can take those things that would typically only last a little while in the refrigerator and keep them for longer. Yes, you can freeze them, but we have limited freezer space, and so it is nice to have different options. I loved having the celery to throw into soups and things like that. The spices maintain their flavor beautifully. So preserving things that we have harvested. We had an overabundance of raspberries this year, and it was so fun to be able to do different freeze drying projects with them. We freeze dried them whole, we made them into a powder. It's just great that we can have those a different way, and then we've used them different ways as well afterwards. Like the freeze dried raspberries are really good in cookies and muffins where you don't want a lot of that extra moisture added in. It's great to throw in the freeze dried ones. They make great colorings for frostings and things. You get some of the flavor and the color without having to add food coloring. So if you have an overabundance of things because of harvesting, it is nice to be able to preserve some of them in the freeze dryer. Which leads us to number 3. If you find something that's on super sale and you want to buy it, it is so nice to be able to have a way to preserve it. We have found green onions at the Costco Business Center, like a huge bag of them for just like $1 or something. We freeze dried those up and we added them to every soup for 6 months. It was so nice to have them, and once they reconstitute, they just taste like they do when they're fresh, which is amazing. So if you find a great deal on meat or fruit or seasonal produce, you can stock up on it and freeze dry it without worrying that it's going to go bad before you can use it all.
I would eat these for snack at school. So good.
Which leads us to number 4. With the price of groceries now, we do not want to be wasting food. And one of the beautiful things about freeze drying is that you can take your leftovers and you can freeze dry them. Okay, this chili was really good and filling. I'm actually going to put it on freeze dryer trays. I think it would be a great meal on the go. Yeah.
But they all wanted gummies.
I only have 2 trays of the chili, so I'm gonna just freeze these, and then when I make 2 more things in the next week, I will do a freeze dry batch. I never really thought about this before I started freeze drying. In my mind, I thought I would make a meal, maybe double it and freeze dry half of it. But really what you can do is you can just take little bits of leftovers, put them on the trays, freeze them in your regular freezer until you have enough to do a full load of the freeze dryer. And then you can have all sorts of different meals, which is so nice. Sometimes you just can't get to all those leftovers and you want that convenience of having that as a freeze dried meal for the future. So it may not even be that you're afraid you're not going to get to them. You just know that you like this meal and you want it for a fast dinner in the future. So you freeze dry it. What a cool concept. Reason number 5 is that you can make meals that you know what the ingredients are and you can freeze dry them and then take them on camping trips. You can take them on hiking trips. You can use them during the week if you just know you have a busy night. All you have to do is add hot water and you have a meal. That is so amazing. The benefit for camping and hunting and things like that is when you freeze dry things, they get really light. And so you can bring a lot of food without bringing all that weight with you. So if it's just going in your pantry to use for a weeknight meal, you're saving time. But if you are taking it on a camping trip, you're saving time and you're saving weight. So homemade instant meals with the freeze dryer, add water and you're ready to go. Number 6 reason why we have come to really love the freeze dryer is that you can put in the ingredients that you want. I have a sister that has severe allergies, and so a freeze dryer is very helpful if you know that you can't have certain things. She knows she's going to be traveling. She can freeze dry some of her meals and make sure that she's going to be able to have food that she can eat when she arrives at her destination. For our family, it's just knowing the ingredients we're putting into things. We get to choose those ingredients instead of a big long list of ingredients. We just know that it has the ingredients in it that we like. So the freeze dryer is a perfect tool for families with dietary preferences or allergies. The next thing that I have really enjoyed about the freeze dryer that I didn't really expect was to freeze dry things that are kind of like comfort items to us just to have on hand. So freeze drying a Costco chicken, shredding it up and freeze drying it so that we can throw into soups, taking it camping with us. We made a big pot of soup and then just reconstituted the chicken, and not having to deal with raw chicken while we were camping was so nice and helpful. I took it to the cabin with us. I took it on our RV trip with us. So freeze drying items like that, I never really expected to just buy something kind of in bulk, cook it, and then freeze dry it. We just recently did that with a bunch of moose meat. I think I already mentioned that in this video, but it was so nice to know that we have that on the shelf and we can just on a busy night add that into some pasta sauce that's already cooked and ready to go. So I did not really expect to be making our own like little ingredient pantry, but it has been so fun to watch the shelves in our pantry kind of switch over to things that we have freeze dried, and we can use those when making dinner instead of pre-bought things. Number 8 is savings. If you do buy pre-packaged meals for camping, hiking, anything like that, they are sometimes called MREs or Mountain House. They can be very expensive, and sometimes they don't have enough in them to actually feed the people that you want, so you end up having to use multiple of them. When you have a freeze dryer, you get to choose the flavors, you get to choose the ingredients, and you get to choose how much you put in there so you know that you're gonna have enough when you're out there. So it's cheaper, but it also is very customizable, and we like that. If we're putting food in there that we know we like at home, we know we're gonna like it when we're on a backpacking trip, and we're not just going to be stuck with something that we never would eat if in our real life. So with the way that the world is going right now, I know that people are interested in emergency preparedness, but when you start to prepare and you just buy buckets full of food that is pre-packaged and pre-made, you're not really sure what is in those buckets. And so having a freeze dryer, we can customize our food storage to our family, which I think is really a cool thing. We live in Alaska. We like to be prepared. We don't like to have to run to the store for every little thing, but every once in a while we would kind of grab one of those buckets full of emergency food just in case. But now we get to just make our own emergency food. And I think that that is a much more sustainable way to do it. We've also done a lot of freeze drying of different fruits that can be used as snacks. It is so nice to just be able to have like a freeze dried peach or freeze dried pear. There are lots of options of snacks that you can make, and then you control what goes into them. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, we do sometimes freeze dry candy, things like Skittles. They get crunchy and puff up. They're fun for giving as gifts to like teenagers or kids' friends for birthdays. They love getting a bag of freeze dried candy, so that has become like a go-to for us. But it's also just nice to make some snacks for our family. And number 10 is the long-term savings and sustainability. I feel like we waste so much less food because we just know that we can throw it into the freeze dryer and save it, especially if there's something that we make way too much of. We can put it in the freeze dryer. The initial investment is a lot of money. That's why I am putting out this video when I am, because they are having a major sale for Black Friday throughout the whole month of November. So if a freeze dryer has been something that's been on your list, now is the time to check it out because they are having some amazing sales. It does use the electricity in your house, but we have not found that our electric bill has gone up that much when we use the freeze dryer. And we do use it quite often, especially in the winter and the fall months. Maybe not so much in the summer just because we're not around. And the freeze dryer does take about 24 hours every time you use it from start to finish to do the freeze drying process. But there is great satisfaction from making our own pantry staples from scratch and freeze drying them and preserving them. If packaged properly, they can last up to 25 years on your shelf. And we go through ours much quicker than that, but it's kind of like this cycle of having it on the shelf, using things up and replenishing them. Knowing that it's there is just peace of mind for our family. So we don't use the freeze dryer to be fancy. We use it to be ready. Ready for power outages, ready for rising food prices, and the simple peace of mind that comes from knowing that our shelves are full of food that we made ourselves. So if you've ever wondered if buying a freeze dryer is worth it, the answer for us has 100% been yes. We have preserved hundreds of pounds of food using the freeze dryer. For us, it's about stewardship, using what we have, saving what we grow, and being ready for whatever comes ahead. And honestly, it's pretty fun to open a jar and taste things from summer in the middle of the Alaskan winter. So if freeze drying has been something that you have been researching and wanting to know more about, I hope you found this video helpful. The link for the freeze dryer is down in the description below. We are so grateful for each and every one of you that spends time with us, and we'll see you again real soon for more of This Alaska Life.